Hello and welcome to Cars with Kasey, episode 12. Today I'll just be rambling on some of the most interesting cars I know, or some interesting cars that are releasing soon. So let's start with the 2024-2025 F-150XL. I like these trucks. The current design for this truck was launched in 2024 as what I call the Bandit Face F-150 due to the mask-like panel over the face of the truck. They may have the smallest displacement of the modern half-ton trucks at just 5 liters, but the F-150 has far superior power for the base model and is only one of 3 half-tons offered as a single-cab truck. The 2025 model year was the last year of the stunning Atlas Blue metallic paint that Ford took a common loss to discontinue. Also, in 2026, the F-150's 3.5-liter V6 lost power and gained particulate filters, meaning the truck needs to be driven like a sports car more often in order to keep the truck running well. Unfortunately, the truck isn't that well thought out. Only the base model has a single cab, and the higher trims remove the bench seats and the column shifters. Also, being a modern Ford, it's overpriced by nearly $10,000 too much. The next car I think is cool is that 1997 Pontiac Courageous concept. It's possibly one of my favorite concept vehicles of all time. It was a rear-wheel drive car with a 5-speed manual transmission and a 5.7-liter V8. It had a liftback and a tailgate, making it essentially useful for a tall person such as myself. The car has 4 side doors, 2 front doors, as well as 2 rear suicide doors like an extended cab truck. The rear seats can also fold flat to the trunk floor, and the entire rear end is lined with durable material to allow the Courageous to hold any cargo. So the Courageous could perform like an extended cab Firebird, while still being able to handle all the household chores that a small truck or a ute would. Personally, I'd love to have one of these, though of course I would swap out the old 5.7-liter V8 and swap in a modern L8P engine from GM, a 4x4 drivetrain, and the 8-speed transmission of the Corvette, as well as a much-needed facelift for the car. It was pretty ugly when it came out. For the closest equivalent of the Pontiac Courageous that actually came out into production, I'd say the GM muscle cars are about where that's at. Both the Camaro and the Firebird in their 3rd and 4th generations were 2+2 coupes with liftbacks, and they had manual transmissions and V8 engines and a rear-wheel drive. Basically all that they were missing was the durable rear end, the folding rear seats, and the extended cab doors. My personal favorite of those is the 3rd generation Firebird due to its styling. In Forza, my go-to car is a 1987 Pontiac Firebird, to which I applied a wide body and all-wheel drive swap to, as well as many other performance upgrades to allow me to grip the road exceptionally well and push over 800 horsepower, which I regularly use to dominate S1 races with. Now, speaking of GM, the truck series that they have is quite interesting. GMC is meant to be more of a higher class and more luxurious truck than Chevy trucks, and yet it is cheaper to get a base model truck from GMC than it is from Chevrolet. Even the V8 model, to get a base model V8 from GMC is about $3,000 cheaper than getting a base model V8 from Silverado. These are the exact same truck. They're the same bed, the same cab, same everything. The only 2 differences I could find on the trucks is that the Silverado has a teenager mode and the GMC has automatic braking. It's weird how they do prices. In addition, the Colorado and the Canyon trucks are cheaper than the half-ton Sierra and Silverado. The Chevrolet Colorado costs around $5,000 less than the Silverado. The GMC Canyon doesn't cost much less at all. The Colorado costs $5,000 less than the Silverado, despite it being the same truck. It's the same truck. It has the same chassis, the same frame, the same platform, the same drivetrain, and it only has a slightly shorter bed. But it's $5,000 cheaper. Speaking of trucks, another interesting truck is the Toyota Tacoma H2 concept. This concept is a hydrogen electric truck with 547 horsepower in an electric 4x4 format. It was rigged for overlanding and endurance. It has regenerative braking to charge an onboard battery that supplements power in addition to the hydrogen generator. Since it's a hydrogen vehicle, the exhaust consists just of water, so the truck captures its own exhaust to provide filtered and pure drinking water from anywhere. You don't need a tap, you don't need a well, you need a Tacoma. The truck can also rescue stranded vehicles, as it can probably obviously carry gasoline in its storage capacity, but it can also plug into an EV to charge it on the site. This Tacoma is one that I'd actually want to see in production. It's actually a Japanese truck that I would want to get, because it can go anywhere, it can rescue anything, and it's an ultimate camping vehicle. Speaking of future vehicles, it looks like Hyundai is actually listening to people. Hyundai just released a Kia K4 wagon, and they're realizing that people actually want these. So what they do, of course, is they get Genesis on board, and they just revealed a rear-wheel drive wagon concept called the G90 Wingback. I don't know much about it, but it looks interesting, and it's Hyundai listening to people. Also, the Genesis cars are rear-wheel drive, whereas Hyundai's, for who knows since, have always been front-wheel drive. Hyundai is listening to people, and they are giving people their analog interiors. Most of the new Hyundai concepts and related brands and their newly introduced vehicles are going back to analog interiors. They're doing away with the Jumbotron screens that nobody likes, except for the tech people that don't really need them. And they're putting back the analog buttons, knobs, switches, dials, all those. A concept vehicle that I've had myself would be to take a truck, such as like a Ram 1500. Well, the Rams don't have single cabs. Ford F-150, Chevy Silverado, something like that. Put a hybrid battery under the bed of the truck to give it a little bit better balance, and a battery. Small battery, doesn't need to be that powerful. And that battery will help power a hybrid turbocharger in the engine that will boost power, boost efficiency, and being a more potent and still efficient small single cab truck that's lowered, it would be a nice sport truck. Here in the US, I feel that there's a need that we need more small single cab trucks, preferably with a manual transmission. For example, the Ford Ranger is overseas sold with a single cab option and a manual transmission. Not only that, you can get something called the MSRT, which is a wide body kit for it. Sell this in the US. It doesn't even need a more powerful engine. Just put the base engine in the Ranger, give it that wide body kit with the lowering kit, put a manual transmission into it with a single cab, and just sell it in the US. Don't overprice it like Ford would normally do. Sell it for maybe $25,000. You'll see these things everywhere because people actually want that. Currently, if you want a manual transmission in the US, you're looking at an overpriced sports car like the Mustang or something like that. You're looking at an overpriced bulky SUV like a Jeep Wrangler or a Ford Bronco. Or you're looking at an economy car like a Nissan Versa. Or you're looking at a Hyundai with front-wheel drive. Why is a Hyundai giving a manual transmission, but some of these American companies, like, why does a Corvette not have a manual, but some Hyundai does? Why? They say it's, because Americans don't know how to drive a manual transmission. Because there's no options to. It's too expensive to get a car with a manual transmission, because some of these companies think a manual transmission needs to be priced higher than an automatic. No. Give us a base model car with a manual transmission. Manuals are cheaper, they're more reliable, and they improve people's ability to drive. Going back to the Hyundai wagons, the Kia K4, I think it's a good looking car. I like the body style, but it has a CVT. It has a CVT, it doesn't even have a dual clutch. Like, I have a Kia, it has a 6-speed dual clutch transmission. At least put that into the K4. Even better, put a manual transmission. That's a car I would drive. But no, they put a CVT, and then if you want a dual clutch like a base model Nero, you have to get the top trim of it. It just doesn't make sense. Currently, as far as I know, there's only 3 cars that come standard with a manual transmission, and that is the Nissan Versa, the Ford Bronco, and the Jeep Wrangler. Those are the only cars that come standard with a manual transmission. One of them's overpriced, one of them's a cheap little economy car, and the other one's about as aerodynamic. Actually, it's less aerodynamic than a brick. They're just not that good of options. And coupes. Coupes are, like, the car companies seem to think that coupes need to be luxury cars or sports cars. No. Coupes are two-door cars. They are the simplest body style. They should be the cheapest. Like, I should be able to go get a $20,000 coupe, and then the sedan should be higher priced, not the other way around. Like with a truck, an SUV, or a sedan, a wagon, you can carry all your cargo, you can carry your family. A coupe, you have 2 seats, maybe a third row, or not a third row, it's second row bench in the back, and you have a trunk. It's simple. It's not meant to be carrying everything. It's a coupe. It can carry you from point A to point B, and that's about it. Why does it need to be higher priced than the car that can do more? Anyway, that's the ramble for today. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you next. This is the podcast Cars with Kasey. It can be found on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Or on Instagram and YouTube, I can be found under the username Tavling Appa. That's Tavling, Tavling, Appa, APA. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.